Well, speaking of desensitizing and, awakening something, what do you think of this next anime? Because I think it's exquisite, exemplary, beautiful piece of art. It really turned things around in my life, changed the way I thought. You're not gonna.
No, no,
That was a long pause. I feel like you really left me hanging there.
no, because this is like I I put in the pumpkin one. I'm not gonna watch it again. I would never watch it again. I I appreciate it for what it was, especially when they had like actual American voice actors for it, like
Yeah,
real
the
voices.
the. Wow. Okay,
Wasn't it like
so
actual wasn't it like actual porn stars?
yeah, well, yeah, the American dub was really good, and they did use porn stars. Yeah.
And I think that shows me that it was like, okay, they really committed this. It got real people. But the thing is, it's like it's so dated, and like there's some really weird things in that. Like I'm not just saying about like Futa and all that stuff, but like there, anybody who's seen this show can go look up the shotgun scene, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
it got really hard into the sadomasochist kind of stuff. Like with it had some rape and um, this is all fantasy, of course, but it's an anime. But it was definitely it had a lot of cult mind washing or like was it mind washing? Yeah, is that right? Brainwashing,
Brainwashing and mind
brainwashing,
control.
mind break. That's what they call it in the categories that I searched for.
Yeah, just I understand that it is iconic because if you mention it, everybody's gonna know what it is.
What's it called?
You know,
Bible Black. Go look it up tonight. Go watch the whole thing. I dare you.
oh,
It's not even the worst
what?
one on here. It's you're gonna be like, "What? I forgot all about this." But we need to move on to a different porn. Another, another
Another
one.
torture porn.
And more rape, torture porn. Oh God, what is wrong with us, Zach? The problem is, I think this is an above average one.
I think that it's like the top, like I think it's in the average category somewhere because like I think that the premise is good and it's like the real like obviously it's like I said before, like on a couple of other it's pretty hyperbolic with the things that happen to the characters, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility a lot of the time. Characters are pretty meh. Like
I like the main character. I think the main character it's the existence of an incredibly tactical character in an incredibly fantastical world. It's what made the early fights in Naruto so good because it wasn't based on creating a Deus Ex to get out of a problem. It was based on actually having strategy and knowing the environment and your opponent's weaknesses and implying and flexing to problems that occur. That's why I liked Goblin Slayer for that main character and the way that he solved his problems. The other
I
stuff is you're just kind of like,
I, I just really don't like that the show is so one dimensional with the other characters that like I feel like the show is too long to do that.
hmm
Um, because it's like it's I mean it's essentially a fucking harem anime because
right.
like every character exists to perpetuate the main character forward, but the main character doesn't really care in the beginning.
hmm
And so it's like why do you guys appreciate this person who doesn't care? Like, why do you want to support him?
Yeah,
And so,
I
like,
agree.
I find the blind following of the character kind of it makes me not really like the accompanying cast. Um,
hmm
and especially the priest chick, she's so one dimensional, and it's
Yeah, she's the
like
biggest damsel trope. Like,
mm, the movie was okay though. I
yeah,
but I definitely wouldn't watch the show again.
yeah, I don't think I would either.
I feel like it's one of those shows where you finish it to say you finished it, and you never have to go back.
It's probably my favorite isekai. Or it's not even isekai. It's just the only fantasy one that's not an isekai. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I think that the best isekai is not on our list. It's probably Overlord. Overlord's probably the best isekai.
Oh, I haven't seen Overlord.
It's it's a little long. I think that once it, anyway, we don't need to talk about it, but Overlord's good. I got to partway through the second season before it turned into, you know, what every RPG we play turns into, right? Where it's just about maximizing everything and then it's not interesting.
Yeah,
You can go ahead and put it at the top. I don't care.
it's where it goes. It doesn't even. It shouldn't be an argument. We both know it's exquisite. It's exemplary. It's beautiful. It's a work of art. Would
I
you watch it again? I would watch it again, and I would show it to people. I've watched it in the past 6 months, I think.
I haven't watched it that recently. I think that the reason this so like when we were making our other list, Cowboy Bebop went to the top because it checked all of the boxes. I don't think Redline's story checks the box. I, I
So,
think I think that its small storyline doesn't match the size of the Fantastical.
that would be my argument. My counter argument to that is that I think it exemplifies the anime surrealism, where it's like it goes from a small point A to a large point B at a very rapid pace, and it's almost ridiculous. And that's why I like showing it to people, is because I feel like it's really good for showing, like, look, this is what the medium of anime can bring. Like, it's all about um, hyperbole.
I mean, he has a pompadour.
Yeah, it's the most bad. Look at the cover.
Were
Is
you,
his
were you about to
pompadour.
say it was the most badass haircut?
Yeah, it's the most badass hair. Like, only the most badass of people could pull off like the Yakuza pompadour.
I'm I'm fine with like I'm not gonna fight you on this. Like I remember the first time I watched it is a very, very impressive show, especially
Mm-hmm.
that with everything being hand drawn and like the process that they had to go through to make the show. We will never see another show like that.
Oh, hell
And
no.
it's just too costly, too time consuming, and I don't think people are gonna want to devote that kind of budget to it. And it is an amazing movie. And I think it's was it like maybe an hour and 40?
Yep.
And it's really good. Like I think if you haven't seen it, I think you're gonna have a hard time getting it on like Amazon or anything like that.
Oh yeah, I don't
Um,
even know where you'd find this movie nowadays.
I know for a period it was like on Prime, but I don't think it is anymore. And I think when I was looking for Blu-rays and DVDs, they were super expensive.
Wow, I gotta pick that up then. I'm gonna look around for Bull Moose for it. I've been wanting to start a physical collection of some of the rarer animes that I see, and Redline would be the one of the ones that would be there for sure.
So I mean, if you haven't seen this one, I say go out, watch it. Think of it like it's it's a very inclusive, like not very deep story that you can
It's
it's like everybody can kind of relate to.
mhm.
And I think it makes for an easy watch for maybe people who have watched.
I agree with you. I think it's in the sense that it's a self-contained story. You don't need a lot of context of anime. It's about racing, so it's like the competition. It's like got a love story built into it. It's kind of like a mafia story, like a Rocky fix the fight kind of story. The storyline is not the most complicated storyline, but the art and the characters and the voice acting, because the dub for this is an amazing dub. The music, everything comes together in such a way, and it's all hand drawn. That so much money and effort went into Redline. It's it's one of those animes where it's like we have to thank them for letting it exist. Like we're like, oh man, we're lucky that something like this got produced.
And I I don't think it gets the credit it deserves
Oh, definitely not.
because I think it doesn't belong to the genres that matter to most people.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a movie, there's nothing else attached to it.
It's not like a
It's
deep movie. It's not because like you think about an anime movie and you think about the Miyazaki movies. You think about movies like Paprika, Ghost in the Shell. You know these standalone things, right? And those are either incredibly cerebral or heady, or like beautifully um, whimsical. You know the Miyazaki movies, or a Disney-esque kind of experience.
yeah, they have
Redline
some
is
sort of message. This is not a message movie.
yeah,
This
no,
is
Redline
you're
is
watching this story.
yeah. You know what? It's very akin to Fooly Cooley. I would say that it's. I wouldn't. I love Fooly Cooley for different reasons, but it is definitely in that vein of like where it's just they're making art for the sake of art, and they use the medium of anime to create this art. Like if you think of a song decorating time, right? But just an it's just an oral experience. You just hear it. This is an anime that decorates time, but it is both an oral and visual experience.
Let's move on.
Yeah, this Redline is very good. Go watch Redline if you haven't seen Redline. Okay, so here's the funny thing. We got a pompadour. We have an art kind of thing from one of my favorite studios in the world, and it's fucking absolutely unwatchable. It is. It's. I would. I would try to watch it over and over again, and I don't know why I hate CG in anime, and it's such an amount of CG, and it was made like right after Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann, and it was after Kill la Kill. You were like, oh man, I want something like Gurren Lagann again, and they put out this anime with a character that looks exactly like Kamina. Ugh. I don't know. The Promare was frustrating.
I haven't watched it, but I I've heard somebody complain about it enough to know that I probably wouldn't like it. So so you could put it wherever you want.
It's unwatchable. I tried so many times, and I know that's gonna make some people mad. And it's not about the the homosexual content because I'd kiss a femboy if I had the chance. You know, if I had a pretty femboy, I'd do it. Just saying. But it's just a shit show. Digimon though.
I Where did we put Pokemon? We put Pokemon Appreciate but wouldn't watch again, right?
Yeah. Is it better than Pokemon?
I think that the story's better than Pokemon.
Would you rather watch it than My Hero? I think I would put it. It's like a right around here. It's one of these ones.
I feel like there are times when it's like a background show, but like
True.
when you take the seasons like all together, because there's so many episodes. Like if we take the first season, I mean, sure, that's different because it's like I remember it was like right alongside Pokemon. You're like, oh, this is way more serious than Pokemon. And Ash Ketchum just
Yeah.
running around, and I I think that it's I would rather watch it than Pokemon, but I think that the ending that Pokemon put forth this last year, or whatever's coming up,
Yeah.
is so much better than the Digimon stories that it's like a slow burn, right? Like you had to be there from the beginning to appreciate the path to the end, whereas like there's so many seasons where the characters are discrete. And
Hmm.
I think it's fine there. Um I don't think that the characters aren't as what do I want to say bombastic. No, maybe not bombastic, but like they're not the characters aren't unique, but they're not supposed to be because they're supposed to be from the real world, as they call it, right? Not the digital. And
Yeah.
I I think if I think that the Digimon series peaked way sooner than the Pokemon series did, but it took so much longer for Pokemon to peak. So I'm fine with it. Like I wouldn't watch it again, but I think that it'll always hold a spot, like for me to think about.
I agree. I think Digimon is right up there in like it's not a shonen, but it's like one of those quintessential animes that define childhood and like yeah, I think it's good. It has really good designs. I think the designs are much more unique. They put a lot more work into them than the Pokemon designs. Like the Pokemon designs, like they have a style that they have to stick to, obviously, but like the fucking Digimon designs are ridiculous. They got to do whatever the fuck they wanted with those.
We just add Mon at the end of the name.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
Oh,
here's
I
gonna be
feel
a
like,
polarizing
yeah, I
one.
know. I feel like we're gonna make a lot of people angry. I think that JJK is like an average show at best. I don't think that there's anything really like it's either right there or at the bottom of appreciate. Like my thing is that it's exactly what I feel about Black Clover, except it's more interesting to watch.
Yeah,
Like
it's.
all the characters are super derivative because of the shonen tropes, right? Like
Mhm.
we have the edgy guy, we have the dumb guy, we have the teacher who's super overpowered, and we have the girl. Like I'm not
It's
saying
literally
she's
team
useless
set.
like
It's
Sakura,
literally yeah. It's I know. I see it. I definitely see it.
but and
It's
I
it.
understand like you can't reinvent the wheel, right? There's only so many archetypes, and you want to be inclusive to include every kind of personality into the team so somebody can resonate with the characters. But there's so little style in this show, and it's
Yeah.
like the thing was it's like the villains have way more identity than the main cast. So like what is the other show that we talked about where like the fact that the villains are like it was when we were watching the My Villain Academia shit
Yeah.
in My Hero.
Whether it's more compelling to watch them. Yeah.
And I feel like it's like it was like that with the Hueco Mundo like um Arrancar no not but wait he's an Arrancar right or is he a
Yeah.
Visor?
Yeah. 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 You're right. It's an Arin car.
Yeah, so like watching the bad guys during that series and see their backstories feels so much better than watching the main cast. I don't know. I hate Midori. I hate characters that are just entitled and they get everything that they want. Like if you're not gonna struggle or show any real development, I understand. Well, he died when he was fighting a guy. I'm like, yeah, but it's exactly what we're talking about with a bunch of these other ones. If your death doesn't matter, then why do I care? Whereas like these characters who are like almost, they have something to risk when they might die. Okay, well, I like those characters better. I don't like Itadori because he's always gonna have Sakuna.
Hmm.
He's
Yeah.
always gonna have in his back pocket to save him whenever it happens.
I agree with you. I think it's an average show. It's almost to the appreciate, but wouldn't watch again. But it's like it's too tropey to be that way, and it suffers the same problems that Black Clover does in the sense that it's like baby's first serious shonen. I think like it's 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 made for the modern anime watcher who haven't had a chance to see these tropes develop yet.
And I don't want you guys. Don't get me wrong. Like the fights in JJK are cool. Like
Yeah, they are cool.
it is a
And
very
I like it
stylized
more than
anime.
Zack too. I think some of the quirks the character has are funny. So I mean, I enjoy that part of it.
Well, and I have the keys that I carry in my pocket. Like the keychain that I have on them is a Gojo keychain, and I think Gojo's cool, but I don't think the show is super good.
Hmm.
But I
I
also
feel
want to
like
be
the
fair that I like Gojo more than I like Kakashi.
oh, that's a big tell there. But it's
Well,
funny
I mean,
because
or at least
you tend
early
to
in the
like.
series.
Well, I feel like that's something you can do too. It's easier for you to separate a character from its series and appreciate the character more. But I'm like, if the series is trash, I don't even like the characters, and I feel like that's where Jujutsu Kaisen really suffers. Is like I think it has really cool villains. The villains are really cool, but the main characters are kind of shit, and so you're like, I even Gojo's cool, but it's like I think he's too Mary Sue. Like I don't like someone who's like, oh, he's all powerful. He enters the battlefield and everyone stops. Like, um, I do like watching someone like do the god power on someone like that, but I feel like it needs to be balanced out, and we haven't seen that balance happen. And because of that, you end up rooting for the villains because you want to see how the villains are going to overcome Gojo.
Well, I mean, you know that in the storyline, Gojo gets sealed,
Yeah,
so like then they run rampant. So like that's the thing that's supposed to happen, which is not something they ever did with Kakashi, right? Like he was
right.
always there, right? Whereas like we've had this, this deterrent, and now we're gonna take it.
Yeah.
So I think that JJK could get better, but as it stands right now, I don't think there's enough going on with the characters. And you know, it's like we said about Bleach when we were talking about it before. Those villains got that drip, right? Like they got
Yeah,
those
yeah.
stylized outfits,
Yeah,
and
they
like
got
they're
the
very
swag, yeah.
unique. Whereas the JJK people, Itadori has a fucking scarf and like just like some fucking tennis shoes, and that's my style. And it's just
Yeah, I
like
feel it.
whatever.
Hmm.
Um, oh, I'm gonna. Oh,
I want to pause here. I can't finish. It's 2 a.m. already.
I told you. I told. What did I say
It,
to you?
we got pretty far though. I think we got more than half, or at least half.
Hold it, Snake. Time to change the disc. I know, it's a pain. But you need to swap disc 1 for disc 2.